This is the Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm avoiding Key West if I can help it. And I've seen Vivo, a new animated musical film directed by Kirk DeMicco and Brandon Jeffords. It opens in Cuba and follows a kinkajou named Vivo, who was rescued as a child by an old man and taught to dance and perform music, which he takes to with passion. The two are invited by the man's old friend, flame, and musical partner to her farewell concert in Miami, Florida. But the man unfortunately passes away the night after being invited. Vivo decides to honor him by sharing a song the man had written for his friend with her, sneaking into the luggage of the man's niece, who had come to Cuba to attend the funeral, and flying out to her home in Key West. Once there, Vivo and the niece, Gabby, only have until that evening to get from Key West to Miami, which is not only arduous in itself, but complicated by the inability of the two to fully sync. That's pretty much the first and a half act of the film. And that's pretty much the most in the way of plot progression and action that happens across the whole story. The rest is a bit of a drag, remaining in 2 locations at most, and pretty much being just the journey to Miami, with only a sparing amount of cutaways to anyone or anywhere outside of these places. It helps to keep things focused, but it's more of a focus on Vivo and Gabby rather than on the story's events. The two have a rather generic sort of character progression in that it follows a pretty basic and formulaic pattern. Granted, this is a kids' movie and you don't necessarily want or need anything deeper, but it's still kind of transparent how much of their conflict and resolution is built upon necessity. It doesn't really help that between the two, Gabby is a flatter character who doesn't see much of a character arc at all, while Vivo's arc is pretty much the entire first act, and the rest of the movie is pretty much the two of them trying to get to Miami with little more in the way of motivation other than because it's there. As a musical, the movie doesn't really do anything worth mentioning. And that's probably a letdown to some, given that the film's songs are all written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. But that's pretty much what happens. The songs do help to set scenes and build up characters, but outside of one song, which already has repetitive lyrics and gets reprised during the credits, none of the songs in Vivo are really all that memorable. They are entertaining in the moment of the film, but afterwards you won't really be thinking about them. Thankfully, the music does at least give way to one of Vivo's few strengths, that being its more creative animation choices. This is where the movie remembers that it's an animated film and takes advantage of the medium, fully embracing the neon colors of the Miami nightlife or the cooler tones of Cuba and Havana to emphasize the lyrics of songs and literally illustrate things as they are being sung about, even transitioning away from 3D imagery and using 2D illustrations to show these imagined events. Even outside of the songs, the rest of the film has a great look to it, even in the more bland suburban areas. And overall, the film has enough of a distinct visual style to it, although character design does seem to ape from Pixar more than it tries to be its own thing. And really, I think that may be the greater issue with Vivo. It doesn't really try to stand out or take risks, unlike The Mitchells vs. the Machines, which is also from Sony Pictures Animation. Another movie which also uses the save the cat formula, but still had enough development in its characters and story themes and dialogue that it was able to break away from the established conventions and come out as something more unique. Overall, Vivo is entertaining, but just not very memorable. And at the end of the day, it's pretty much a Saturday morning film you'd watch when there's nothing else to do and you don't feel like making a big breakfast. Vivo. Kirk DeMicco, Brandon Jeffords, 2021. 2.5 stars. I won't say not to watch it, but again, it's not something you need to make a big event out of seeing. That's it for the review. If you liked what you heard, leave it a like. If you didn't like what I've said, leave a comment. If you want more reviews, subscribe to the channel. I wonder if name-dropping studios would be a good idea from now on. I'll think about it.